Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they giving?
Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast. It is Thursday night. Probably listening to this Friday morning, January 13th, 2023. My name is Jake Luke, and I'm joined on my screen by two gentlemen, the first of which is Spencer Nathaniel Schultz. How's it going, pal?
Going quite well. It is playoff week, playoff football this year. I was just kind of thinking of this like general NFL season. Feels like I don't know. I love the NFL every single year, but this year kind of just processed. It just kind of pushed through. I don't think there was anything too crazy and too dramatic. Like the big surprises are like the Seahawks finishing 9-8 and the Jags finishing 9-8. So I thought it was just kind of in retrospect, this year it was good football. It was good all around, but nothing too crazy.
With no Thursday game on, I was thinking about this tonight. Was there one like really good primetime game?
Yeah, there are a few good primetime games for sure.
Like really good that we're gonna like remember though. I can't think.
No, I don't think there was any like super memorable, barn burning, crazy games. There was a couple like solid games. I think the Bills had a couple fun primetime games, and there was gonna be one, but
Colts Broncos.
Yeah, Colts Broncos. There you go.
I'll always remember that game.
We'll always have Colts.
I fell asleep for that one, if I remember correctly. I fell asleep for a lot of these because
honestly, the Broncos Seahawks Week 1 kickoff. Like I guess that was Monday night.
Yeah, that was spicy. That was good.
I don't think we'll remember it though.
No,
That's what I'm saying. What the 2022 season? We have Mike Santagata. Very happy to have you back. I think third, fourth time for you now. One of our definite favorites. Sidetrack, Mike. You do your own podcast. You cover the Bengals. You do pretty much all the things we do. Have you ever found a normal Steelers person to talk with or have on your show?
I'm engaged to a Steelers person.
I mean, like to have on your show. Though.
Oh, okay. I thought you just meant normal.
I'm engaged.
I was like, I find her pretty normal. I live in the Pittsburgh area. There's not a lot of choices that aren't Steelers fans around here. I don't know. I think the most normal. I have our producer is a Steelers fan for our podcast.
There you go.
He comes on. He's very normal.
We have really struggled. Like we love having you on. We've got Corey. His last name is escaping me right now. Corey Kinnan, who covers the Browns for Browns Wire. We have you. We've been looking for a Steelers guy. It's just like every time we try to have one on there, it's so obscene. The Inzers are truly
come on,
crazy
waving a flag.
The Hills have eyes up there in Northwest Pennsylvania.
You say that's where you live?
Yeah, I live about an hour outside of Pittsburgh.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew you didn't live in Cincinnati, but I didn't know where exactly you were. So that's interesting.
I've been to one game at Heinz Field, and I don't know if I'll ever go back because the Bengals lost by about 30, and I was crying into a Permani sandwich by halftime.
Well, that's it's now called Acrisure Stadium. So I guess
maybe I can go back. I don't know if I want to.
That will definitely stick for decades and decades.
Oh, they left the ketchup bottles up.
Did they?
Yeah, they took them down. This is a huge thing. They took the ketchup bottles down. They got a crane and everything to take them down. And then Heinz was like, "No, we'll still pay for the Heinz Red Zone." So they put the ketchup bottles back up.
Good Lord. Quite the condiment conundrum going on in Northwest Pennsylvania there.
Nobody will ever top the Grill Mates Red Zone.
So taking it back though, what do we remember? What will we remember from this 2022 kind of regular season? Obviously the playoffs are their own story and could put a cap on things. Like to me, it's like the Eagles were a very good team. I guess like this was maybe the start of the downfall of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady to a degree a little bit. Like trying to reminisce, what do you guys think of? I'm having trouble here.
Rodgers is big for me because he had such a big summer and like off season with all the stuff that was going on. I want to say the Browns, but like I didn't like it. Just kind of Deshaun Watson got in there and they just kind of petered out. Like there was nothing. I mean, I don't know. The Bengals have, they've kind of caught fire in the second half here. I've kind of been thinking about them a little bit.
Brock Purdy, I guess, is a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
League-wide, the Bengals have been on a tear. I don't know, man.
Biggest-
Little weird. Feels like we kind of just meandered into the postseason here, I guess is my point.
Biggest story for me is the Broncos and Russell Wilson and all the let's ride. That's the thing I'm not going to forget. Is just like, oh wow, what a disaster.
Yeah, I think that's actually, now that you point that out, it's like the clowning of Russ. But like, it's been, I feel like the last like 6 weeks, it's just kind of like, it's kind of slowly crept into feeling bad for him territory. Like it's sort of, we cross that.
Everyone's clowning, thinking, oh, he'll get better.
Once they fired Hackett, it kind of just was like, that was taking them out back and, putting them to pasture. it kind of just, it was over once that happened.
And like Hackett
has a huge year. I don't know. Just really not a ton here though.
Pretty shocking, right? Yeah.
Very, very shocking. So with that in mind, we are getting towards the postseason, getting into it. Ravens, Bengals, I guess prime time game of this weekend at 8:30.
Thought Lamar would play, yeah,
exactly at 8:30 there in the Queen City.
They were like, let's give him one more day, see if that's enough to get that swelling down.
The good old swelling in the knee. So at this point, the Bengals have been on an absolute tear. What have they won? 7? How many have they won? 7 straight. 8 straight. 8 straight wins for the Bengals heading in, AFC North champions. Obviously, these two teams just played each other last week. So going into this game, Mike, what are your initial thoughts on this Bengals season and where this Bengals team is headed into the postseason and the kind of just feel around the team as opposed to last year? Obviously some different factors. They feel like they're a little more confident and things of that nature.
And they're a little more confident. They're a little more complete too. The offense isn't as reliant on go dunk on somebody, Jamar Chase, although that was what they got to in the last game. This feels like where they solidified themselves as like a more true contender. I guess the playoffs will also kind of show whether or not that's fully true, but it felt like this is Joe Burrow went from, oh, that guy's really good, into, oh, is he one of like the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL? 5, I don't know. We could be conservative about it, but it felt like he leveled up from good to great or elite or whatever you want to say. It felt like the team in general has just become a true contender rather than last year felt very surprising that the Bengals keep winning. They're in the Super Bowl. Felt like a Madden. You see them 20 years in the future, and the Super Bowl was Bengals Rams. Now it feels like if the Bengals made the Super Bowl, I don't think people would be shocked. So this to me for the Bengals felt a lot like, and it started off bad. It did feel like that might have been like maybe that was a little bit of luck in that Super Bowl run, but now
maybe the pressure is going to get to them or any of that, all
the hangover's real. Look, they're 4-4. But now it seems like they've kind of solidified themselves as a true contender in the AFC and the NFL, instead of just being kind of the feel good, probably kind of lucky story.
What led to them flipping the switch on offensively, at the very least? Was it just Zach Taylor like giving up the play calling duties? Because I remember it kind of like it seemed to be that lined up pretty interestingly time wise. But yeah, what's kind of your thoughts on that?
Taylor hasn't given up play calling duties. He refused to. Some people were asking for it. And he actually came out in the media, I think, when they were 4-4 and said, like, I'm not giving that up or whatever. Around week 5, they switched from trying to do all of their real run game from under center zone stuff into doing everything from the shotgun. That was the Ravens game, was actually the switch, the first one for the run game. And it felt like the passing offense went through an evolution. That one was longer. I don't think you could point to 1 week. It started with like the Saints game around week 6, and then throughout the Jamar Chase injury, they added to it, and that was more out of necessity. But then out of necessity, they grew a little bit, were able to actually start dink and dunk 7-yard gains down the field rather than just getting explosive plays or not that much. Felt like the passing offense grew during that time period. Joe Burrow went from one of the worst quarterbacks against like cover 2 into, I think Robert Mays had the stat, he was the best quarterback since week 6 or 5 against cover 2. So now maybe the silver bullet is quarters from what I'm seeing on Twitter. It's always some covers he'll never figure out, but it's an NFL offense, guys.
I think we just grossly, like, I think coverages are so mischarted anyway.
They're not. Oh yeah, what quarter half or cover 3? What we got here? I feel like that could be
variations between them and what if then scenarios, all those things. I think coverage is really one of the hardest things to chart. So I think all of those we usually take with a gulp of salt or a gulp of sand, either or. But with that in mind, what I started to notice about this Bengals offense as well, it felt like, number one, their new offensive line, their new kind of right middle through started to feel a little more confident together. Like you mentioned, they get into the shotgun stuff, and they really did, like you said, in that Ravens game, from that point forward, not only operate more exclusively out of shotgun, but it felt like Zach Taylor comes from McVay, comes from a lineage of air raid, spread, all that kind of stuff. But it felt like they really started to utilize the width of the field even more so. And obviously Joe Burrow's so good out of empty. So all of those have kind of contributed a little bit. But like you mentioned, the one thing that really sticks out, and Jamar Chase it's not like he's in the slot a ton, but feels like they were looking for those throat, grab your throat, pull your neck out, grab your spine shots. And now they are just so comfortable spreading you out so wide and just operating over the middle of the field, checking down to Samaje Perine, to Mixon. Hayden Hurst gets involved in this offense quite a bit. So it feels like they truly have become so balanced. And what have you kind of seen in that sense, I guess, pre-snap or anything of the sort, or with this offensive line? Obviously, we're going to see Kappa and Lyle Collins both out for this matchup, which is devastating for the Bengals. They really did make it somewhat unscathed. Trey Hendrickson comes back from injury. Awuzie is out for the year, is their kind of big loss, I guess. But now Kappa and Collins there. So what have you kind of seen in the last month, and where do you feel like this team is headed schematically, offensively into the playoffs?
Yeah, offensively, the Collins one's interesting because he wasn't playing very well. And then Adeniji steps in. He's honestly been, at least in pass protection, as good, if not maybe slightly better, which is nice. It's kind of nice to Adeniji. It's also kind of not nice to what Collins was giving the Bengals this year. He had a back issue in the offseason. I don't think people realized how serious it was because he just doesn't move well right now.
So he's got a rod down his spine.
Yeah, and he falls down. He was falling down on like 60% of plays. And it wouldn't just be like his back gave out and he fell over. It would be, I don't think I can hold this block. I'm just going to dive and Superman push this guy. And it was kind of the craziest thing I've seen from an offensive tackle to do that like 12 times in a game.
Yeah, big boys getting off the floor is tough after a while.
Yeah, 300 something pounds trying to get up every one of those. So evolution-wise, I thought they did a really good job attacking the middle of the field pretty much this entire win streak. And then the last game happened. And I think some of that maybe I'm galaxy brained on this. They've all said that in that game, they held back, quote unquote. I don't think it was the vanilla offense that everybody on Twitter is trying to say, because I think there were some normal, complex passing schemes in there.
They busted out that fake screen. The Ravens are jumping at screens like banshees.
That entire game plan was basically, let's set up this fake screen, and then Burrow missed.
Yes, and then they scored the next play.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. Sometimes you just have Jamar Chase. But they did a really good job attacking the middle of the field during the win streak. And then it felt like in that game, they didn't really try to get to that too often. And my galaxy brain take was just basically they went back to the week 5 passing offense. And obviously the Ravens could just throw on the film and see like, hey, that's not exactly what they're running since, the past 8 weeks or so. But, there's a difference between watching and then getting the live reps of some of the different concepts that they've been getting to lately, because the Bills and Ravens, not the exact same defense structurally, but both like to play the quarters, middle field open, too high stuff. And they attack them.
Nickel usage. Yeah.
Yep. They attack them way differently. In that start of that game, Burrow went 4 of 4, and every pass was middle of the field. There was the touchdown was a post to Tyler Boyd against Tre'Davious White on a Bills concept. And they're attacking middle of the field with Hurst and with Higgins and all these guys. And I feel like there were only other than checkdowns, 5 throws to wide receivers over the middle of the field. It felt like they really wanted to attack the perimeter. And that's what they used to do around weeks 1 through 5, because we've got these dudes. Why don't we throw it out there? So that was my galaxy brain take, was they kind of went back to the week 5 passing offense, just so the Ravens didn't have live reps against what they have been trying to do lately. But I could just be overthinking that. I think schematically they are able to attack every area of the field right now. And when Burrow's on, unlike Sunday, he's one of the best.
With the Ravens defense playing to the level that it is, I mean, it's hard to be a really dominant defense in, I guess, 2023 now, but I don't know, what kind of opening couple scripted drives are you expecting from the Bengals here? Are you expecting a ton of success, or do you think this is going to be a chippy game between the Bengals offense and the Ravens defense once again?
I do kind of expect both. I think the Ravens are a very good defense. I don't want to say that the Bengals, they didn't move the ball because they were holding back. That's not it. I mean, it could be some of it, but
Bengals definitely did really want to win that game after everything that happened with the seeding stuff and all that.
Oh, they were so mad. Like Burrow threw the ball like 45 times, took 6 quarterback hits in a game that didn't mean anything. It was just like, I think the Cap injury was to finally stop them. They took that deep shot to Higgins. Kappa gets injured, and they just kind of go like, do you think Anthony Brown's scoring 11 more points, guys?
Right.
Why don't we just run this out and finish the game? The Ravens defense is really good. They're really physical. I think they're already bothering the Bengals. I'm not gonna say they're in their head, but they are bothered by like how physical they were in a game that I think they thought the Ravens were just kind of not
resting
really
starters,
resting
all those things.
On offense. They were resting all their offense. I felt like on defense they came to play. So I think that's a really fun strength on strength matchup. I think it will be a little chippy. I don't think these guys love each other. But I do think the Bengals offense will move the ball better. I don't think they're going to dominate the Ravens defense or anything, but they really struggled at times in that game. And I guess they struggled in week 5 as well. So maybe you could just say they'll struggle this game too. But I think they'll move the ball okay. I think Burrow won't put together another bad performance. Watching back, it wasn't like he missed all those throws because he was pressured. It was just like everything looks good, and they just throws the ball, and the ball goes yeehaw like 10 yards over the receiver. And
he just missed a couple.
He played better and made more throws under pressure, like just anecdotally. Like
when he had to avoid 4 guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like when he was like dancing around, he would like make a throw off platform or like have a nice scramble, and then when he was kind of wide open back there, he would miss a few of those.
He just has to no look on the run some more throws. That was a good throw. Why couldn't he do that for like a 10-yard out route instead of throwing it over his head?
Exactly.
So with this, my question, and I guess this is kind of just like speaking of Galaxy Brain question, the one thing I struggle with, and I really do like some of the things they do on the ground and the way they mix in some trap here and there and some things of that nature, but like, what are the Bengals' intentions? What are Zach Taylor's intentions with the run game? It just doesn't always, I don't always get it. I don't know how to put it other than I struggle to find the rhythm in it. I struggle to find different things. Like they mix it in. They do have some really nice days on the ground. Mixon's a great runner in many ways. P. Ryan is dangerous too. I really think they're a super underrated tandem, but what is the point of the Bengals run game? That's my question.
I think anymore, it's really just from shotgun to keep teams honest for the most part. When they try to run out the clock, they'll get under center, run a lot of that zone stuff. But they've been such a gap, power heavy team and trap, all those type of plays. But yeah, I compared the Ravens this past week to them kind of like having a machine gun full of spaghetti firing at the wall because there were concepts they haven't run all year. They got to one of my favorites, crunch, which is trap and wham together.
Yeah.
From pistol. They haven't run a single pistol play this entire year. They've never run crunch.
But that one felt like that's
why did it look good?
Right. Yeah. It was peculiar. And in those running a crunch in general is you're not going to see that 5 times in a game unless you're at the high school level. Maybe it's somewhere weird. So
it's my favorite though. I just love how crazy it is. So yeah, they ran tackle power. They pulled the tackle instead of the guard. They've never done that. It was just a whole bunch of like, you've never done this. Why are you doing this right now? But put it on tape, I guess. Make the Ravens prepare for it.
That felt like the gamesmanship for sure in the run game. That's why I guess maybe it was because of last week. But even I just right before this was going back and watching their game on the ground against the Ravens in week 5. And it's just, I don't know how to put it. I just don't always get it quite. But
I think that what they want to do is just from shotgun. They don't really want to have a tell of they always run away from the back. So they have a lot of stuff that gets back to the same side. They want to be able to hit basically every gap from the shotgun. They want to be pretty much a shotgun run team. They just want to be shotgun only for the most part, especially in tight games or when they're behind. So it's just to keep a defense honest for the most part, really. I don't think they run some of that trap protection stuff. They'll pull guards, and they have to pull guards in the run game to really sell that. So they get some of that in there. I guess you could say they're setting that up. But for the most part, really, I watch it and I just kind of go like, it's keeping a defense honest, making you play the run, making you play, don't get into dime against, their 11 personnel type stuff.
Definitely, fit your gap, all that kind of stuff. To me, it seems like they do like to, I don't know, maybe they haven't done it as much, but they like to go YY sometimes. Maybe that was more of the under center stuff. They'll go YY right and try and run some of that zone stuff. And feels like a lot of the time with Mixon specifically, to me, maybe it was Pirine too, but if you tight end lines up to that side, tight end lines up on the line of scrimmage, felt like they like to run through there. So I don't know, maybe it is setting up. It just feels very weird a little bit. So how do you kind of gave, I guess, your prediction of how you see this game going in that sense. But for the rest of the playoffs, what are the keys for the Bengals? If the Bengals do escape here, they are a 9.5, 10.5 point favorite. I'm imagining you will ultimately predict a Bengals win here. What are you concerned about? What are you excited about outside of, obviously Jamar Chase being all universe into the playoffs?
I think the main thing to be concerned about is just the right side of the offensive line. And when you face, if you can get past the Bills, because you're not going to face the Chiefs in the next round, the Bills have like Ed Oliver and some guys that are pretty good. If you face Chris Jones, what's your plan? Because you've got a fourth round rookie on one side and Max Sharping, who was a waiver claim on the other side. If he winds up in a 3-tech, like you could slide to him all the time, which is what they usually do. But even considering the slide, Bengals fans, the infamous Aaron Donald play, they slid to Aaron Donald on that pressure. Aaron Donald is just a freak. And
What play was that?
It was the last play of the game, 4th and 1.
Which game?
The Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Duh.
I couldn't tell if you're messing with me.
I was.
He most certainly was pulling your leg.
Whatever. I have fun getting there. I don't need to remember what happened.
And you're gonna probably win this game this weekend. So I gotta.
The funniest part of the Super Bowl night, to go completely off tangent, was I bought a cigar to have the victory cigar, and I still smoked it drunk after they lost.
You had already tasted that cigar in your mind, and that's where that sweet tobacco gets you. You're like, I'm fucking smoking this thing. You've been thinking about it. You're like, I'm having this stogie.
No, on Sunday night I got my consolation right here, so no worries on that.
There we go. The boys are buzzing. Flipping over onto the other side of the ball, I don't know what to say specifically about the Ravens. Like their offense, if it's Tyler Huntley that they trot out, Chris Collinsworth, I think really hammered in to the point that what we've seen is when Tyler Huntley is the Ravens quarterback, and Anthony Brown obviously is no different in that sense. It's a one read pass game. If it's straight drop back, there's one read, he bows out to the right, all of those kinds of things. I don't know. Is there anything that scares you from the Ravens offense? I guess more so when you go back and watch through, what do you think? What are the thoughts that cross your mind? That's what I'm curious at. You have an outside perspective. I trust your football mind very much. What do you think when you're watching the Ravens offense?
Okay. The first thing, just because I am a degenerate O-line brain, is Tyler Linderbaum looks pretty good in the run game. Pass protection, but run game.
I think once he can grow a mustache, he'll be better in pass protection. That's my theory.
Yeah, he can barely drink. Let him put on a little beer gut and some extra weight. I thought he gave Reeder the second most trouble. I wouldn't say that he won the matchup. I think it was a good back and forth.
It was a battle.
Yeah, it was a battle. Like Creed Humphrey, I think, is the only guy that's given Reeder a better battle than that. So that's what I thought was the first thing. I was like, ooh, Linderbaum can actually kind of hold his own a little bit here. Usually these centers are not doing
if they get Linderbaum on the move against a nose like Reeder, he still has a chance, as opposed to he did stick him up a couple times, but Reeder's just ridiculous. It was a wrestling match.
When Linderbaum got to like anybody else on the front, it felt like, yeah, that was the Tyler Linderbaum I watched at Iowa. So that was interesting. I also liked Isaiah Likely in the draft. Ravens are good at drafting. Yeah. So him getting 100 yards and doing really well, I was like, yes, that's Isaiah Likely. RAS score. Send him to the 4th round for whatever reason. Other than that, it's hard because this past week it was Anthony Brown, and I'm not really just going to really judge the passing offense that much. Even when it's Lamar, though, it doesn't feel like the passing offense is the idea. Like that's not.
I feel like you might have the same inkling that I had about the Bengals run offense. What is the point here?
You've got DeMarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins recreating the championship Chiefs, but why this late?
Couple years too late, yeah.
Missing the Tyreek Hill aspect and some of the other finer points. But yes.
But yeah, it is kind of like what's the point here? What's going on? A lot of guys in the same space. I think that's a meme about, you can always find Ravens 2 receivers hands up, like right next to each other. So the passing offense has always kind of been like that, but especially when it's not Lamar being able to make some magic happen, it really feels that way. Bengals haven't faced Tyler Huntley. That also crosses my mind. People forget it was Josh Johnson last year when Lamar missed. Legend, played on all 32 NFL teams from what I can probably guess. I don't know.
And a couple of European teams.
All the XFL as well, both times.
NFL Europa. So with this Bengals defense, I mean, the guy that sticks out to me, we talk about DJ Reader, Trey Hendrickson obviously is such a, I don't know. He is a weird pass rusher to me in a very good way. Like, he has a relentlessness up in your pads, and he rushes to the quarterback. He rushes through the pocket, all of those things.
People don't understand. He wants to drive his skull through the offensive tackle's chest like every snap. He's not the throwing all the moves type.
He's like a bully in South Park. He's like one of the 5th graders. He just like wants to smash his head into the locker and make fun of you. And he kind of looks like that too, to be honest, a little beady eyed.
He wears the long sleeves that are very loose. He looks like a long snapper.
He does. He does have big long snapper energy for sure. Long snapper covering a punt that like loves to tackle. That's Trey Hendrickson's aesthetic to me, very much so. And then Jermaine Pratt is the guy I was trying to round about too here a little bit. Someone that I really, 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 really liked coming out of the Wolfpack there, NC State, and what he's done in the past game. Him and Logan Wilson, so capable in those hooks, all of those things. What have you seen out of Jermaine Pratt this year and his growth? Obviously, still not a full-time starter. Does come off the field. But what have you seen from him this season, and someone that, in my eyes, has really grown? And I know a lot of Bengals fans feel the same way.
Oh, yeah, really grown. Last year, he started to. I think he finally started seeing like is this guy like a solid linebacker? And now he's a plus starter. I think you could probably easily make the case that he's been more impactful than Logan Wilson this season. Got the higher PFF score for whatever that means. I think he looks a little bit better. I think he has more interceptions. He's forced the fumble on Travis Kelce to swing the Chiefs game. So there's a lot of that. He's a little bit more athletic than Wilson. When they want to match and run man coverage, it feels like he's the guy that he's want.
Longer and fluid and can run and all those.
Yeah, former safety. He's got a little bit of that to him.
So is Logan Wilson.
That's true, but yeah, Wyoming. Wilson's athletic too, but he's not as athletic. It feels like he doesn't fight through the trash as well in coverage. He's got other areas that he's better at. So that I've liked Pratt's evolution a lot. He definitely hit contract year and leveled it up even more. I don't know if the Bengals retain him or anything because they're probably paying Wilson, so are they going to pay 2 linebackers? Who knows? I think the biggest evolution for him is he never really felt like he had a good feel for when they play normal zone coverage and be able to just drop to a spot and read the quarterback, mesh, move with the eyes type thing. It felt like he didn't really get that. He wouldn't always get enough depth or he'd get too much depth. And the eyes.
A lot of linebackers struggle with when they make the transition. I think playing inside linebacker has become arguably the biggest jump of any non-quarterback position in terms of the mental aspect of the game. So but definitely seeing that a ton on tape.
He's there now. So he actually does a good job of this now. I think the best example was a PJ Walker interception before he got pulled at halftime. PJ Walker doesn't try to move with his eyes or anything, but Pratt drops to about like 12 yards, the normal drop, but then he can feel the route coming behind him like a big over, and he ends up dropping to about 20 yards of depth to get this interception. And there's nothing in front of him to hold him there, but melts with the eyes, moves. He's moving. It felt like he moved like 12 yards after getting to his spot just to get in the right window to make that interception. And that was kind of the click moment of like, to me, it felt like that's where he finally has the
acumen,
the instincts, the acumen of like zone coverage as inside linebacker.
Depth, routes developing behind you, all those good things. How do you feel about this cornerback room? What going into the playoffs, Lou Anarumo's defense, very solid unit, very balanced, all of those kinds of things. But to me, that does feel like a little bit of the Achilles heel with the Awuzie out and them being able to maybe match some physicality, things of that nature. So What are your overall thoughts on Big Lou's plan and this kind of secondary headed into the postseason?
I trust after that playoff run, it's hard not to trust that Lou Anarumo is going to have something cooked up. Felt like he had some type of crazy game plan for every opponent they faced, and it was very effective. All 3 games. Well, I guess mainly the 3 games. The Raiders one was whatever, but the cornerback room probably it's definitely the weakness of the defense. I think you got a rookie second rounder in Cam Taylor-Britt who's been fine. I feel like at the catch point is where he's really
a very physical player.
Oh, very physical. He loves hitting. He doesn't always tackle when he makes the hit, but he gets in there. He'll adapt. Eli Apple, a little physical himself, but he's not the same level. Eli Apple scares me much more every time I hear his name and that he's starting, but he's actually been pretty good for like 2 years now. I still think when they play the Bills, possibly. I'm worried about you're going to play man coverage eventually. Who's matching up with Stephon Diggs? You can keep a safety at the top, but I guess it's Eli Apple because he's the number 1 corner. Unless he's in the slot, then you could throw Mike Hilton on him, but that scares me very much in name. Eli Apple versus Stephon Diggs. I don't know if the Ravens have a guy that can really do that. Not really. No.
Demarcus Robinson not doing it for you?
Well, hey, maybe is he still that fast?
Not doing it for you? Come on.
Is Deshaun Jackson playing?
He is since
they got him. Okay.
mentioned by Sammy Watkins. So
Slammin' Sammy, who had the most Slammin' Sammy play of all time last Sunday, shoving off a corner, adjusting to the ball, tracking it perfectly, runs 20 yards after the catch into 3 defenders and just lets him rip the ball out.
That guy is just the chaotic, like neutral
the Lizard King himself.
Lizard King. Like,
I mean, yeah, he's a lizard man. He's got to have chaotic energy. Could you imagine a normal, obedient lizard man?
Definitely. The thing what I'm anticipating is them trying to isolate Mark Andrews much bigger, and they've been isolating him and targeting him, split out, all of those kinds of things. Using his physicality, he is a very, like, for his size, for being a quote-unquote tight end, he can get off the line of scrimmage. He has a release package. He is able to swim you at the kind of through and into the stem and push off and all those kinds of things. So in this game, I anticipate those kinds of things happening. But like you said, Lou Anarumo, I think one of the most impressive things that he does is tailor his game plan specifically to his opponent. They're a very balanced defense. They can play in different structures. They can play in different personnel groups to some degree. And I feel like they do a great job fitting the run very, 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 very consistently. And a lot of that does come from DJ Reader, in my opinion, being able to 2-gap so well. But this Bengals defense, it just, again, I think Awuzie is a huge loss. So exactly in that sense of what happens if they get or when they get past the Ravens. And, for this Bengals defense to struggle against the Ravens is probably a very obvious question. What has to happen?
Probably a lot of Andrews dunks on Trey Flowers or whoever they try to throw on him. Dax Hill, probably Trey Flowers. They like him a lot on the tight ends, even though he didn't play well against Likely. So how's he going to play against Andrews? Maybe it was just a bad game. Probably quite a few Andrews dunks, some high point type stuff. Maybe the Ravens go 2 tight end and have Likely out there too. He had a really good game. You get a few splash plays from like a Watkins, a Robinson, whoever over there. Is Duvernay going to play in this game or
no? He's still hurt.
Okay.
He's still on injured reserve.
Dang, that was another one I was going to bring up, but I guess not. The real one, I guess, is if you could really get the run game going, and that's tough because I do think the Bengals' run defense is the strongest part of the team with Reader, and Hill's a good run defender. Hubbard's a good run defender. The linebackers do a good job ball fitting. So if you could get it going, though, good efficiency.
When teams get it going against the Bengals, what does it look like in a brief summary in the run game?
I would say a bit like the Ravens week 5, a lot of that jet sweep stuff, a lot of that attacking, getting away from DJ Reader. I think that Reader's pretty rangy, like on zone plays, stuff that's slower hitting. He can still get outside of the tackle and make that play.
He plays through the midline of the numbers to the hash to the midline of the numbers to the hash.
When you mentioned jet sweep, that is one guy that you're not accounting for is Andy Isabella, who has taken over
he's here.
The Devin Duvernay role as the jet sweep guy. So
Andy Isabella is the H-back maybe this weekend. He was against Pittsburgh week 17.
It could actually be important, though. I mean, the Bengals aren't the best. as good as they are on defense, jet sweeps and stuff just feel like they could hit. I always think back to Raheed Shaheen took one to the house on a jet sweep in the Saints game.
And he's guy.
That is my guy. One of the funnest players in the NFL this year.
Oh, it's super fast. And the Ravens, I felt like, if I'm remembering right, I haven't watched back on that Week 5 game. They got to a lot of that jet sweep stuff, and it seemed to work. Duvernay.
It also allowed J.K. Dobbins to get going up the middle too. Like the threat of it, I think, really kind of threw them off a little bit. And
yeah. So like, you get the run game going a little bit. Some of these jet sweeps, muster a few explosive plays. Maybe you get a few turnovers. Defense is good, but we're talking about the offense. How's it get going? Don't completely stall out. And don't fumble in your own end zone. I think those are some huge ones. But it's an uphill climb. But
yeah, we've
it's
had
possible.
A lot of uphill battles going on around here the last couple of weeks. So yeah, here's yet another one. But you know what? God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. So
yeah, most certainly does. Most certainly does. And his toughest soldier is one Tyler Huntley, who has tendonitis in his throwing shoulder and has barely practiced over the last 2 weeks as well. So there you go. Mike, appreciate your time so much. How do you feel like this one goes? What do you think the Bengals postseason looks like? Give us all the predictions that you're comfortable to make. It can be scores, it can be games, it can be whatever you want to make it.
Okay. I think the Ravens hold the Bengals under 30. I think the defense is that good. I don't think the Bengals will be gifted as many points either. I think the Ravens are going to try to come out and limit turnovers for themselves. I do think the Bengals offense moves still. My guess is 27-13. I don't see the Ravens offense really killing it in this game. I could see them touchdown play, get to 21, 27, 21 type thing. I don't know. But just when I keep looking at it, if it was Lamar, I think this would be a really tight game. But when you're talking about either one of the other quarterbacks, it's not that exciting. The NFL schedule makers, like I said, they thought Lamar was playing this game, and Sunday Night Football is not going to be the most exciting playoff game, in my opinion. We'll see. I think the Ravens defense is they're going to play some AFC North football. Gotta love it. Further, I picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, so I think I'm just going to keep riding with my homer take there, win the Super Bowl against.
Are you feeling tingly?
A little tingly. I lost a tiny bit of tingle when Alex Kappa was on the scooter. I was like, this doesn't look good for the future. But I'm just gonna keep rolling with it. We'll see what happens. I had them playing the Eagles. I predicted that preseason, so it wasn't fully chalk on the Eagles. It caught up, so I'll just keep going with that. I don't know. I think this Bengals team does a really good job playing on the road. They can play against any opponent. They've got Lou and Room in a game plan and, do that type of stuff. Maybe it's a little bit anecdotal from last season, small sample size, but it really feels like he's one of the best game plan defensive coordinators in the NFL. So can they throw things to slow some of these big Bills, Chiefs offenses down? He's done it 3 times against the Chiefs now, so I think so, but I guess it's also hard to stop Big Red 4 times in a row. So I've got them winning the Super Bowl in my mind, but I could easily see them getting bounced because they have to travel on the road to Buffalo and Kansas City if they play.
And what an injustice that is. So yeah, we feel
what a horrid injustice. The terrible NFL.
Oh my goodness, I was not on that train. No,
we gave you a shout out last episode. You were not on that train, and we appreciate that.
They were insane though. Oh my goodness, the takes I was reading that entire week, it was like
the one who has Bengals on his brain was just going a little ham.
Not to call anyone out.
Pulling his car over on the side of the road. My word, one Mr. Goodberry, the Twitter user since 2009 himself. But with that in mind, really appreciate your time, Mike. AFC North football game. I have a siren going on here. Good old Baltimore City. Yep, driving right on down the road. High quality content here.
It's maybe a nice analog to the end of the race.
You could see it. You can see the
really in my face there. But speaking of that, I guess the closing point here. What did you think of the media narrative and all that stuff, and the chippiness of last game and this game, and Jamar Chase's comments, Roquan Smith, all those fun things? Does that get your nipples hard a little? Does that get you excited? You're an AFC North football fan. You were an offensive lineman yourself. Like, that gets me excited that they're pissed off at each other. That is what is lacking in football today, is the rivalry aspect. Like, the best we get is like Micah Parsons being like, oh, Jalen Hurts isn't all that. It's like, come on, let's up the takes, let's up the spice a little bit. You know, Terrell Suggs, Vontez Burfict, Troy Polamalu, those guys used to talk the most shit. Let's get some excitement buzzing here again.
I think I'm excited about it. I've watched it like 3 times. I don't really know what they're complaining that much about.
I think the one thing that Jamar Chase really actually got pissed off about, he caught a ball and was trying to like reach on to extend.
He got kind of
marker.
So you're talking about when they felt like they did finish those tackles, like whistle would blow and they're like, "You're still going to the ground, pal."
Yeah, a little bit of that for sure. Like Kyle Hamilton has done that all season. He is a very physical slot presence. But there's one instance, it might have been Hamilton. It was someone over the middle of the field. Chase has the ball, and Chase is such a weird player. He can extend his body without moving his body, like moving his feet somehow. And he's slithering towards the marker. And Roquan Smith like shoved him down and was like, "You're not getting this 1 fucking inch in between the first down marker and not." And it was on first and 10 or second and 7 or something. And I think that one is the one that got Chase pissed off. Then there's like Eli Apple going in and lifting someone's leg up, which wasn't even a dirty thing. If someone lifts my leg up,
stupid.
I'm like, get off. What are you doing? It was silly. So all that stuff I think is fun. I think that gives us at least some sort of narrative heading into a game where the Ravens are probably starting their backup quarterback who has shoulder tendonitis in his throwing arm, or maybe an undrafted rookie in his second start that let himself get strip sacked 6th and threw a pick. So I'm glad we have that at least.
Yeah, I like the chippiness. I'm into this. I'm into it being a real rivalry. It felt like the Ravens were just stunting on the Bengals early in Zach Taylor's tenure, and then the Bengals kind of dunked on the Ravens in the last year, and then this year it feels like they're actually going back and forth. Got this chippiness, got this AFC North type of football. So I'm into that. I don't think Roquan Smith tossing a football at Jamar Chase or bumping into him was a big deal, but I know some other people.
You don't see a ton of that anymore is the thing. I think that's why it's kind of gotten this attention. So it was a little fun. Then Jamar Chase had some comments. Roquan Smith had a big smile about it and was like, "Hey, we'll see you Sunday night." That's all he had to say about it. So all that stuff is super fun. But you've given us 42 minutes here of some quality Bengals Ravens talk, Mike. Appreciate your time so much. I think you gave us 27-13 is your prediction. We wish you well. You know, we're not going to root on for the Bengals to win. I know last year when the Titans had the ball driving, I was very excited. And then a tip pass interception. I want to throw to Nick Westbrook-Okene.
Shout out to Ryan Tannehill.
Shout out to Ryan Tannehill. What a fucking average quarterback that has just existed there's no one that makes me feel more existential than Ryan Tannehill. Like, he is just a grain of sand floating around on a big grain of sand. But
the EPA per play king, Ryan Tannehill.
Him and Jimmy Garoppolo just suckling from the EPA per play teat of their respective play callers when Arthur Brown was there, and or Arthur Brown, but I guess AJ Brown is Arthur Brown. Both of those apply. Anyway, Arthur Smith, Arthur Brown, all of the Browns, all of the Arthurs. But with that, Mike, we'll let you get out of here. We appreciate your time, my friend, and hope you have a fun postseason. That's what we'll leave you with.
I'll see you guys. Hope the game's at least fun.
And plug your work as well. If people want to go listen more Bengals?
Yeah, Bengals _Sands on Twitter. Everything will be plugged there. If you don't have Twitter, find my writing at All Bengals on Sports Illustrated, and have a podcast with Lindsey Patterson now. It's always game day in Cincinnati.
Very fun, my friend. Very fun draft content as well. Look forward to maybe connecting on some of that stuff. So thank you for your time, and hope you have a fun time this weekend.
You too. You know, hey, it could be fun for both people.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll be in Cincinnati, Mike. I'll be there. I'm gonna be in Chillytown. Yeah, I'll be there.
Have fun.
I will, my friend. I will. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, buddy. All right, well, that was fun. I guess all this.
Such a nice guy. He's just such a nice. He's smiling the entire time we have him on here. Such a pleasant.
He's our guy, and we're his guys, and it's great. And it provides some solace ahead of this game, which, crazier things have happened. I've had this same feeling going into playoff games. I've had this feeling going into Ravens playoff games. Shout out to 2009.
Shout out to going to Denver on the road not to be like, oh, but they're going to go win the Super Bowl. But the game I felt the most ever, like, no shot was honestly the Broncos on the road the year they won the Super Bowl. I wrote like a long Facebook post thanking
they were 9-point underdogs. Like
they definitely were. And that game, I mean, I was joking around with some friends today. Like, if football is fixed, you can point to what Raheem Morris did at the end of that game. Yeah. I know some chubby frat kids that can make a better play on the ball. That was truly insane. That was the 10-year anniversary was, I think, yesterday. And just rewatching that, every time I watch it, it is more stupefying watching Raheem Morris. And I don't know what the hell he was doing, but
yeah, he kind of looked like he was doing some sort of like interpretive dance, like just sort of like moving to the side. And then, of course, like the great shot of our friend Pete Gilbert every year.
The only logical explanation is that like he just was like, the ball's not going to get that far. Is the only thing I can think. I don't know.
I think Joe just put more air under it, than he was expecting, and it just dropped over him. But yeah, I mean, you got that. You had the 2009 wild card against New England. There have been examples. I think it's a taller task without your starting quarterback. Certainly, I am not going to predict a win here. I got the Ravens fighting though. I've got the game being, very close late, and then the Bengals going an icing drive. I think they're going to go ahead and cover 27-17, but I think it's either going to be a field goal or a touchdown that they're going to score late. That's going to kind of break the Ravens back, and that'll be that.
The Bengals just have this chip on they're forcing this chip on their shoulder. They're baking themselves into chocolate chip cookies. They so badly want a chip on their shoulder. And I think that Mike brings up an interesting point of the way that they had to adapt to survive with teams feeling comfortable playing them in these two high structures, cover 2, cover 4, whatever it is. And them being willing to kill you with a million paper cuts. And the fact that they're not going to really feel pressure from, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows? Tyler Huntley has had nice moments. He does some erratic things. He's a very high anxiety quarterback to watch him attempt to maybe go through a read even. It gives me stress, but has made plays, can be a playmaker a little bit in the red zone. I mentioned it previously, if the Ravens are going to do something, Mark Andrews has to have a day. That really is the key here. We can talk about J.K. Dobbins in the run game. That stuff's all obvious. They run the ball a lot. They want to run the ball. They want to control, limit possessions, limit the Bengals, hope to get a turnover, all of those kinds of things. But with Mark Andrews getting rest, with him looking really sharp, like this, Mark Andrews hasn't really had a big playoff performance either. Not that he's played in a ton of playoff games, but Huntley goes to the man. Huntley has him as a safety blanket as much as Lamar does, arguably more, I would say. And it's time for him to have that signature game. I think with the rest, with him, I mean, his press conference even today, to get into kind of speculation, I suppose, or I think it was yesterday actually, but he was just like, it was the 1,000-yard stare, but the way that he just has his brow furrowed a little, and the way that he talks is like, there is a fucking intensity to that man. There is like a soulless, deep, lost sailor that has something to prove. I don't know how to put it. Something strikes me a little strange about him even this year. But I think it's time for him to go line up, like I said, go split him out wide, go isolate him, and let him be an all-pro. Let him be your guy. Let him be your expensive skill player. All of those kinds of things. So obviously the things in this one, if you have a backup quarterback in, turnovers, can you generate them? And what's interesting to me about the Ravens defense and what they did last week, they were experimenting. I don't know if they were experimenting. I don't know if they were setting something up or both or something in between. But they start messing with press. And Marcus Peters did it so much in week 5. I'm curious to see what he does in this game specifically. He has a lot of freedom in some of these, in his depth pre-snap. And he was, as opposed to bailing, he was doing stays. He was fake playing off, running up at the snap and pressing, so that if Burrow went there with his first read, he was going to think, well, that's not going to develop in time. I need to move elsewhere. What we saw last week was that the Ravens were effectively playing super off coverage and then dropping their slot defenders and linebackers to the sideline. Like, don't care if you throw it into the curl area. Don't care if you throw it over my head. They were going and taking away hitches on certain plays, certain high leverage stuff, so that Burrow wouldn't get his first read. And it feels like they wanted Burrow to have to hit the seams to Tyler Boyd, to Hayden Hurst, and we're trying to force Burrow to pepper the ball perfectly when you had corners that were playing vision inside. So the corner can see you trying to hit the seam, and the corner can jump the seam. And then you have Marcus Williams there more as like a a safety net than someone who's going to make a play on the football. So I'm very curious to see what kind of wrinkles the Bengals have. They did hit that. We talked about that fake screen, but I mean, throw the ball for Chase. Like, it just kind of comes down to me. For the Ravens to have a shot in this game, I feel like Chase can't make a monster play. Like, that is, to me, is the difference of if the Ravens are in it in the fourth quarter or not, or have a chance to win. Like, do not let him go dunk. Do not let him they have to force them to paper cut them to death, to check down to Joe Mixon and P. Ryan and Hayden Hurst and Tyler Boyd, as a big catch here or there or something. T. Higgins, I feels like they have a pretty good understanding of T. Higgins' movements. Don't really ever see him separate or anything, but I don't know. Very weird matchup. The Mike McDonald, I feel like, was brought here. I went to a tangent on the Roquan Smith podcast, but they brought Mike McDonald, and what this is for teams like the Bengals and the Chiefs and the Bills. They don't want you to be able to score 30 points. They don't want you to be able to feel comfortable pushing the ball over top. So I think that the Ravens are going to play defensively a very high leverage game of risk reward and risky. I think they're trying to force turnovers, and Burrow is a smart motherfucker. So it's an interesting game to me. I'm curious to see how the Ravens align their front. Very excited for this game. Very excited to see what they do. But I just think the Ravens do cover. I think the Ravens cover 10. If you give me a 10-point line, I'm going to take the Ravens plus 10. If Tyler Huntley can play a zero turnover game and the Ravens don't fumble the ball, if they can play a zero turnover game offensively and don't let Chase have the Chase play, I think they can be in it in the fourth quarter. And I don't know. I feel like this team's strange, man. The hitting, the chippiness, all of that stuff, it was there. The Bengals are a well-oiled machine. They have answers to everything, but I just don't see them dominating. So, the Ravens are going to have to score 20 points with a backup quarterback. They've struggled to score in the playoffs. In the Lamar Jackson era, they've only scored 20 in the playoffs one time, and it was the one game that they won. So I don't know what to expect out of Greg Roman. They have all these hodgepodge players that aren't long-term players, aren't experienced, weren't counted on or thought of as high players. And, I don't know. It could very well be an embarrassment. It could very well, I feel somewhat indifferent. I just hope we get a good competitive game out of this one. J.K. Dobbins and hopefully Gus Edwards there, able to make a couple plays. And if the Ravens can't score in the red zone, they won't have a shot and they don't cover. You're going to have to score in the red zone once. God forbid they have a fucking explosive touchdown for once ever. Like, that's why the beginning of this season, looking back, was so exciting, watching Rashad Bateman have a 75-yarder and a 50-yarder, and Devin Duvernay's a kick return, and Lamar's a 75-yard touchdown, and then they only can score from the red zone. So I will say the Ravens win this game if they force a fumble, and that fumble is a fumble 6, or they score immediately ensuing and turn that into 6 points. That is my key to the Ravens winning. Burrow is a tough cookie to get to throw picks. He has faith in Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is better than you at the rim. It's like Ja Morant. Like, he is going to outjump you. He's going to outdo you. But force a fumble, get a takeaway, play that explosive stuff. If the Ravens can hold the Bengals to less than 3 touchdowns and less than 3 field goals, so let's call that under 20, they have a shot. And I don't know, man. I'm going to be there. I'm excited, but it's just a very weird situation to be in.
Official score?
Official score. Let's go. Bengals 19. Ravens 15.
I wanted you to predict an upset. You're going to be there.
I feel it. I can feel it a little bit. I can feel it just a little bit. Just a little bit. I can feel it just a little bit. I'm very confident in the cover. Very confident in the cover. This could be an absolute shit show. And I'm sure, if the Ravens lose, we'll get Vaz just ripping apart the fact that the Ravens have invested in their defense, and that, good offense will always beat a good defense, and all of those kinds of things. So I'm very excited for that when we get to that. That's going to be fun, but, try to enjoy this game. Set low expectations for yourself. Some people, like myself, I feel something weird. I feel something a little weird. This game is prime time. I don't know, man. I don't know. We've rarely seen the Ravens get ripped apart in prime time. The only one I can really think of is the opening game after the Super Bowl, when Peyton Manning just went on an absolute warmonger, bloodbath, disheveling of the Ravens. So weird situation, very weird, but hopefully this defense, which is pretty fucking healthy, they really are just missing Michael Pierce is able to go do something. I'm excited about the matchups across the offensive line, those two being out. Justin Houston has complete control of Jonah Williams. I am curious to see, Calais Campbell has really brought it in the playoffs for the Ravens. This could very well be his last game. He's talked about retirement. He turns into Godzilla in the playoffs. We watched what he did to the Titans when they did win that game. He was really damn good against the Bills. Brings the intensity. The Ravens don't really have a weakness necessarily, but just Jesus Christ, can they score like six? Give me 16 points. Give me 20 points. Give me 20 points once. Give me 20 points once. And I think the path to that is Mark Andrews and isolating him, not letting them help, treating him as a wide receiver. And he's got to go make plays. He's got to go force pass interference and bring the intensity and sprinkle the salt and be great. He's the one. He's the dude on offense. They got J.K. Dobbins in the run game and all that stuff, but Mark Andrews is the high-paid man that got rest last week. So I feel like he's factoring into this one, and daily fantasy stuff, I will be taking him, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
I like it. Well, there you have it. We are both predicting a loss here, which is unfortunate, but it's kind of, you gotta pick with your head to a certain extent. Although I do think we're both sort of expecting them to keep it close, and anything can happen. I think if they can get themselves, just keep yourself within a touchdown going into that fourth quarter and just hope for some weird shit to happen. And, maybe that could be a galvanizing thing moving forward. I mean, it does seem like Lamar Jackson done for the year either way. So I'm not sure it's going to matter all that much after he finally came out and tweeted some concrete updates as to what's going on, which was nice to see. But, little consolation.
He definitely typed that one. It felt like
that sounded a lot like him. It seems like something that he sat down, put his reading glasses like halfway down the bridge of his nose, and just thought for a few minutes and really went through that. So that was good to see from him. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got here. We're running close to an hour on a game that there isn't. In my opinion, there's really not a whole lot to say on it. It's just if something crazy happens here, then I wouldn't even have words for it. That might be one of the finest wins of John Harbaugh's career if it were to happen.
Most certainly. Just Lamar Jackson tweeting that stuff out. It does sound like, the PCL is serious, but it's just the formal typing of it was hilarious. It was like, hello, everyone. The Vietnamese are giving me 3 square meals a day. I am being treated very well. See you soon.
Iraq is very happy to have you all here, these great liberators. But yeah,
that was very funny. But I don't know, man. Just John Harbaugh, give us a game in the fourth quarter. It's what's needed. This is the John Harbaugh moment. You don't have your offense, you don't have your quarterback. You do have a great defense. You do have capability. It's a divisional opponent. Don't fucking embarrass yourself. Don't get into weird. The clock is running and there's a crux and the Ravens are down 9 or 10 and go for it or challenge it
for some reason. And like John is like got the bewildered look on his face. Like I can see it now.
Do not use a timeout in the second half until the end of the fourth quarter. There's another recipe for a win. Have 3 timeouts at the end of the fourth quarter. Force a fumble defensively, which is stupid, but that's my path to winning. And I think they've got a shot. John, this is your Meadow Soprano. Suddenly, the kid whose car Tony took, he's bowing out. Now you're going to get your solo. This is your solo, John.
Eric Scatino.
Eric Scatino's Jeep is a reason for Eric bowing out. Eric Scatino has bowed out. Meadow, this is your solo. Go sing the title to the Titanic.
Shout out to Robert Patrick, great character actor, Davey Scatino.
Davey Scatino was a great character. He just couldn't help himself. Had 45 whole boxes of ziti.
Yeah, tough scene for our guy. But yeah, that is that's all we got. Thank you guys for listening. This was a surprisingly fun one, given I think what we both are expecting.
You seem pretty apoplectic.
Yeah, for sure. We're
not ending yet. We're not ending yet. I'm demanding. It's Friday tomorrow. I know you got to go in the office, but give me your mentals. Give me your mentals right now. I want the internal monologue. This could be our last of the season.
I'm frustrated because like it's not the exact same as last year. Like they made it to the playoffs, but it's the same ending. Like Lamar's gone for the year, and that just really sucks. And it doesn't give me much hope beyond this game. But like I said, I do think this game, something weird could happen. Not expecting them to win, but something weird could happen and they could win. And I don't know how I feel right now. I maybe I'm just emotionally blocked off from this team, but I really need to collect my thoughts. I need something. You know what?
What do you need? What do you need?
I need a win. I need a real big win.
Is that what you need? That's what will get you out of this. That's what will get you out of Malfi's office.
It could. Well, listen. There's a lot of reasons why let's see. We don't have to project that onto football, but it's interesting, man. I don't know. There's a lot that's going to be happening with this team in the coming couple months, I think. And before everyone's like sliding into my DMs, what do you know? I don't know anything, guys. It's just
something smells fishy.
This is purely vibes right now, and something is fishy down at the old market.
And you're within sniffing distance of the market yourself, so
yeah. You're not. Listen, it's a stone's throw, and let's not, for all the people that were coming after me about the fire Greg Roman thing, I did not leave fire Greg Roman loose leaf side of the facility, the castle.
I don't think it was even loose leaf, so that's how we know that you're genuine in that stance.
Exactly. If I did it.
It's definitely a weird time. This feels like I don't know, it feels like the weirdest time as a Ravens fan that I can kind of think of. There were some weird moments, when they lost to the Bengals was very weird. That was a strange sensation, and what it felt like after that, and for them to stick with John and go through, and those feelings. 2014 felt great. I'm just trying to think through, it's a very
17, I think, is a good analog because it felt like I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I expected them to stick with Flacco, but it's like, okay, maybe they start looking at quarterbacks. I didn't expect they'd take one that year.
Everybody was looking, are the Ravens going to make a move on a quarterback? That was I feel like a common draft narrative. The Ravens could do this. They could do that. There's a lot of draftable quarterbacks in that realm, things of that nature. And Flacco clearly wasn't the same player that he was before his neck and ACL and all that good stuff. So it's a weird time, but I don't know. Just don't take a playoff game for granted. Obviously expectations lead to disappointment. And I'm not telling you to go, mope into this game and not live it up and have a good time and throw on your jersey and all of those kinds of things. But man, have the Ravens ever been routed in the Colts beat the shit out of them once, 20-3.
Yeah.
Peyton beat their ass.
Yep.
I don't think they've ever played. The Bills game was like up close. Then ridiculous stuff happened at the end. That was a little weird, but
that was a close game.
No one has ever pissed on the Ravens in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that was a close game. I mean, and
Steelers had the pick six at the end, and that was embarrassing, but it was, again, the Ravens could have scored at the end there and tied it.
Yeah, I think negativity for the sake of appearing to be prescient, or for negativity for the sake of not getting hurt, just in general in life, that's a way to never get anywhere in life. So if you want to do that in sports, that's fine, but that can kind of creep in to your psyche, and do not allow that to happen, because that can put you in a bad place.
We have Chris Schisler. I just lost it. He was basically saying, have fun with this one. It's kind of like New Year's Eve,
Which I love.
If you're like, all right, we're going to spend $150, get this ticket, go to this club. It's going to be dope. We're going to have a great time. And you get there and it's crowded and you can't hear anyone. And somebody's, throwing up and someone doesn't feel good and this, that, and the other. And you're like, damn, that sucked. I hate New Year's Eve. Or if you're like, hey, let's chill here. Let's get drunk. Let's have a good time, or let's enjoy each other's company. Let's, do it up still, but maybe in a more, I don't know, set your expectations that way.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. People that take New Year's Eve, people that are oh, New Year's Eve's overrated. It's you're taking it too seriously. Just have fun. It's fine.
You're off. It's a break. It's the holidays. Enjoy the holidays. The Ravens are a pretty stable organization. People hate when people say that, but they do make the playoffs a lot. They play a lot of playoff games. In the John Harbaugh era, they have played, I believe, I think it's 5 meaningless games that have not had playoff implications where they could make the playoffs. they are always in it. They are always chasing that dragon. And I think that's an interesting conversation and we'll have plenty of off season, but there's I think a scholarly article or maybe a book that was kind of talking about the most profitable business model in pro sports for an ownership or for an owner group is to always be competing and never winning the championship, because it always keeps the fan on the edge of their seat. It always keeps them buying the ticket and thinking this is the year. And if this happens, we can win it. And it's like, it keeps that bubble spiraling up. And, that's kind of what the Ravens are at this point. So hopefully, whatever does happen this offseason, if we get there, hopefully the Ravens do something and shock the world. Feels highly unlikely to go beat a Joe Burrow without competent quarterback play, but hopefully whatever does happen this offseason, they're able to at least keep us on the edge of their seat. I trust them to do that at least. And, you look to the Steelers, who through earth, wind, and fire ended up fucking 9-8 and not playing a meaningless game this year. So maybe that is what the Ravens look like next year, or maybe they do figure it out with Lamar Jackson and go, push their chips in or something. But we will be here. I'm happy to be here. I feel invigorated over the last month, and I'm invigorated for this game. I'm excited to the point where I was willing to, pay $800 to go to Cincy to watch Tyler Huntley play, because we just don't fucking get that many playoff games. It's something I cherish, I enjoy, and I hope everyone else does too.
It's true. I'm right there with you. Anything else that you want?
It's been a fun season. You and I have been we were a little discombobulated towards the middle of the season. Had some weird stuff going on, but regular season's over, playoffs are starting, and not that this is a sign off. We'll get to that maybe after this game, maybe hopefully not. But I'm happy that we've done this another year, and it's the new year, and happy that we've had listeners and all these people in this kind of little community that we've harvested from the ground up that I enjoy. I get so many DMs where I just get to chit chat with people about the Ravens from people who listen and things like that. And I love that stuff. So it's been very fun for me. I'm happy I do it. I'm happy to have you as my co-host. I'm happy to have everyone who listens, and this nice little purple corner of the world that we've cut out for ourselves. It's a nice little place.
Yep. There is no one I would rather spend several hours of my week with than you. And it's been a tremendous 4 years now. Maybe going on 4. I'm not totally sure.
We're going on year 5. We trail Lamar by a season.
Going on year 5. So yeah, that's going to be big. Going to be the biggest year yet. And listen, this was a big past year. A lot of great guests, some really, really good stuff that we managed to do. First ever meetup a couple weeks ago. That was great. Hopefully do some more of those. Maybe do like an Orioles game or something during the off season. That would be fun. Maybe
that's a great idea.
Maybe a little lower stress, just in general. So yeah, that would be great. But yeah, awesome year. I echo everything that you said.
Super happy to have you. Super happy to have everyone else. We love you guys. Be excited. Be happy for this game. I'm not done yet either. I'll probably do some Twitter spaces. Maybe I'll hop on here or something. I'm trying to live this week up as much as possible. So I want to try and harvest some joy, harvest some fun out of it, and have a good time. So hopefully, if you're feeling the same way, if you need someone to chit chat with about the Ravens, I'm all in. I'm 24 hours. Like legitimately, if I'm awake, I'm thinking about the Ravens right now in this playoff game. So hit my DMs, chit chat me, tweet at me, call me, whatever. We're talking Ravens, we're talking ball. We're excited, and we'll leave you with that. And we'll come at you from another angle somewhere in the next day or two. And then after this game, we'll be there for you. So appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Indeed, we will. Thanks again. You guys can follow us on social media. You can find the show on Twitter at Podcast Beatdown. I'm at Jake Luke. That's Louque. Spencer's at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4. Thanks again, guys. It's been a great regular season. Hopefully this postseason run continues, but no matter what happens, we'll be there on Sunday night breaking down what took place. So be sure to tune in. Until then, we'll talk to you.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that.